Mauritania, a country that's almost entirely swallowed by the Sahara, and a land where only 0.5% of the terrain can sustain life. It's one of the least visited countries in Africa, yet every year it sees thousands of students from around the world flock to its deserts, all in search of one thing: to sit at the feet of some of the greatest minds in Islamic scholarship, literal geniuses who've committed to memory volumes of knowledge, and giants who are arguably smarter than ChatGPT.
كيف كان جواب الشات جي بي تي؟
جواب غلط تماماً، واضح أنه يتكلم في شيء لا يعرفه.
This is a land where even the children are prodigies carrying encyclopedic memories.
He has memorized over 6 volumes of classical poetry.
But what is it about this barren land that makes it so fruitful in producing some of the greatest minds of our time? This is our journey into the heart of Mauritania to meet with the geniuses of the Sahara. Before we launch you into something incredible, quick question. How many doors are there to Jannah? 8. That's right. But the number of ways to enter Jannah? Countless. And this is why I can't recommend this campaign enough. Launch Good. They've compiled hundreds of different causes for you to donate towards this Ramadan and maximize your opportunities to do good. They've verified all the campaigns for you to make it super easy. You can give donations towards a school, a masjid, an orphanage, all from the same place. You're even able to schedule your donations for 30 days across this Ramadan so you don't miss out on a single day of rewards. You can give whatever you're capable of, whether that's $5, $10, or even a single dollar a day to wherever you want it to go, because you never know which donation could be your entry into Jannah. Sign up to join our 30-day challenge now at launchgood.com/OnePath and be part of something incredible. Bismillah. Now, enjoy the video.
Mauritania is often referred to as the land of a million poets. It's also known as the land of a million memorizers of the Qur'an. It's a country that's renowned for knowledge, memorization, and an incredible love for Arabic and Islam.
Mauritania is home to one of the highest percentages of Muslims in the world, with over 99% of its population devoted to the faith. It's not uncommon to see people pausing for salah on the sidewalk, or to come across ordinary individuals who've memorized the entire Qur'an. But after speaking to the locals, we learned that the heart of scholarship was in the desert. So we left the bustling capital of Nouakchott and made our way to the humble village of Noubaghiya.
So we're currently on our way to Noubaghiya. It's about a 2.5 to 3 hour drive from the capital of Mauritania, Nouakchott. This is a village in the middle of the Sahara Desert that's home to some of the biggest geniuses in the Islamic world.
It was a long journey to reach the remote village buried in the salty plains of the Sahara. But before we could enter, we needed to stop for the night at a quiet neighbouring village called Maymoun. It was here that we had the fortune of unexpectedly bumping into a renowned Mauritanian scholar, Sheikh Mohammed Walid Abul Fali. Just to give you a glimpse into the caliber of this sheikh, he currently teaches at a Mauritanian university that you can't even enroll in unless you've memorized the entire Qur'an. And it takes a mammoth 17 years just to graduate.
بعد ذلك يأخذ العالمية، يعني شهادة العالمية، يعني أصبح عالم، فهو درس ودرس وألقى المحاضرات وتعلم وأقام البحوث وغير ذلك. هذه خلاصة.
But it wasn't just Islamic knowledge this scholar was upholding.
We hear from the locals here that you have knowledge in the stars. Is this true?
فلك الكبار عندنا، يعني أنا تعلمتها من أمي وأبي، تعلمت منهم هذا العلم، أنك إذا وقفت في أي وقت من الليل ونظرت إلى السماء ستعرف الساعة، ما تحتاج أن تكون عندك ساعة.
This ancient knowledge was passed down by his forefathers in the form of poetry. Listen to this.
هذه المنازل يسمونها منازل القمر، ويقول تظهر في الرابع من ينائر بالمغرب الطرفة للنواظر، وجبهة تبدو ب17 والخرتان ب30 ظهر وصرفة قالوا ب12 فبرائر في أول الليل ترى ويظهر العواء ليلة 50 من هو 20 بغير لبس ويظهر السماك ليلة 10 من مارس ومنه تبدو الغفرة 23 والزبانة 5 إبريل له قد كان وليلة 8 من إبريل مع 10 تعد للإكليل والقلب في الليلة الأولى من ميه ورابع العشر لشولة عيه وليلة 27 بها النعائم بدت يقينا وبلدة قالوا لها 9 من ينيه والليلة 2 من بعد 20 بها السعد الأول حتى يدور على السنة كاملة بهذا الشكل.
I was already astounded, and I had only scratched the surface of this journey. I couldn't wait to see what lay ahead. The next morning, we found ourselves waking up in the remote village of Noubaghiya. Here, students from across the world flock to sit at the feet of sages and scholars. Before the sun rose, the village was already coming alive, students quietly pacing the dusty streets, reciting and repeating their lessons in pursuit of knowledge. To understand what made this place so special, I spent the day with one of the village scholars, Sheikh Mishri. He immediately began giving us a tour of the village, firstly beginning with the center of learning for students, Masjid al-Mahdara.
This is the main masjid of the village, the main mosque of the village, where students come to revise the lessons they've taken throughout their classes.
As soon as you enter the masjid, you're instantly greeted by the diversity of students on full display.
In front of us over here, you have a Norwegian teaching a Moroccan, teaching an Indonesian, teaching people from all across the world. People from all across the world have come here to learn and memorize and gain a level of knowledge that is not accessible anywhere else.
Inside, I could barely hear myself think as I walked through rows of men and boys, all reciting aloud. Students from all walks of life buzz like bees as they memorize the Holy Qur'an and Islamic classical texts. Wherever we walked, we came across students from different parts of the globe, faces young and old, all united in their collective pursuit of knowledge. I asked Sheikh Ibrahim, a village scholar, what was the secret.
هؤلاء الطلاب جاءوا من مختلف أصقاع العالم فهم جاءوا من بلاد أوروبية بعضهم أيضا جاء من بلاد الآسيوية فهم إخوان جمعهم طالب العلم فهم صار بعضهم صاحبا لبعضه فصار بعضهم أخا لبعضه.
It wasn't long before we bumped into students from the Western world.
Why did you come here? Like literally in the middle of the Sahara Desert, when you have facilities, there's institutions in America, in Florida. Why would you come here?
There's things here that more than knowledge that you can't find anywhere else. For example, the simplicity of life and the righteous people around you. This is priceless.
You know, if you want to aspire to be like the Imam Malik, so you want to aspire to be like Abu Hanifa, you know, these are the scholars that I mentioned in our books that are, you know, the famous books. I think you have to put yourself in the environment of those scholars. So because you have the environment, you have scholars who have been brought up in such an environment, and you have people who, you know, they give ta'zeem lil ilm. You know, they understand the importance of ilm in their lives. That's kind of, in summation, this is why I came here to Noubaghiya.
I chose the middle of the desert for the seclusion, I think. Then they said it's the land of 1 million poets or 1 million scholars. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just go ahead and make the jump. And I think this is a better place to go.
The diversity was undoubtedly inspiring, but what lay behind the masjid moved me even more. A sea of tents for students from the poorest of backgrounds.
One of the students here, he has a makeshift tent. He's revising his lesson. He's invited us to come inside.
أن الله يولج الليل في النهار ويولج النهار في الليل وسخر الشمس والقمر كل يجري لأجل مسمى وأن الله بما تعملون خبير.
As you can imagine, people come here with like little to no money, sincerely for the sake of learning, with absolutely no possessions apart from like the little items you find in their tents.
It was a spirit of dedication to learning that was embedded across the village.
We're here with Junaid, all the way from Sydney, Australia, our home. And he's been here in Mauritania, in Noubaghiya, in this village, for just under 2 years, mashallah. What have been some of the biggest learning curves you've had to undergo when coming here?
I never thought I could live in a place with no Wi-Fi or no internet. I never thought I can live in a place where there's 14 hours of no water daily. So I think I've sort of gotten used to what others may find impossible or don't even fathom really in Australia. You don't think of 14 hours of no water. It just become a part of natural life for us.
A reality for you guys.
So sort of in terms of self-growth, I think we've sort of become used to hardships that people in Sydney don't even think about.
So over here, you're gonna find stuff that you're not gonna find anywhere else in the world. Over here, it's a lot about self-discipline. The teachers are not gonna come after you like in America. You really have to choose to learn by yourself. You have to choose to self-discipline yourself, and that's something I don't think you can find anywhere else in the world.
What happens if you don't come to class?
I mean, the teacher's not gonna tell you to come to class. It's on your own. You have to be willing to do it, or else you're just wasting your time here.
In Noubaghiya, there's no formal curriculum or structured class timetable. Rather, students gather and take turns, one by one, to sit before a sheikh, like this one, Sheikh Mukhtar. Each student recites from an Islamic book of their choice, and the sheikh explains the meaning line by line. It's a model that demands immense dedication from the student, but also showcases the remarkable depth and caliber of the teacher.
هل الشيخ يدرس وعنده كتاب؟
لا ما شاء الله، المشايخ كلهم هنا يدرسون كلهم برؤوسهم، وهذا دليل على إتقانهم، وهذه ميزة يعني تميز بها أهل شنقيط وأهل موريتانيا، أنهم كلهم يدرسون من رؤوسهم
بدون كتاب
لأنهم أخذوا العلم عن علماء ولم يأخذوا العلم بالوجادة، يعني ليس بالمطالعة ليس كذا، لكن أخذوا العلم، كل شيخ أخذ العلم عن شيخه.
It was beyond impressive. This is just a basic list of some of the standard texts every teacher is expected to memorize by heart.
Their memory is just something you can't even describe, right? I mean, someone coming from the West, we're not really used to memorizing things. I mean, memory is kind of like, what's the point of memorizing when you've got your phone at hand, right? You can see a young child walking here in just this village here, you'll see him reciting these baits of shi'r, and it's just like, wow.
I needed to know the secret behind such miraculous memorization, so I asked Sheikh Mukhtar himself.
أهم الأسباب التي تقوي الحفظ هو تقوى الله تعالى، ومعلوم حال هذه البلاد من شظف العيش وقلة الهموم وما يشغل البال لضيق الأحوال، وهذا أمر قديم، هذا أساسا، هذا هو العامل في ظني والعامل الأساسي. والشيء الآخر هو أنهم يتدربون على ذلك وهم صغار، يبدأون بحفظ القرآن. هذا شيء مشهور في هذه البلاد، وأظن أن السبب يرجع لهذين السببين.
It was a remarkable gift they possessed, and one that was enhanced by the stillness of the desert itself.
Time over here has a lot more barakah in it, but in Sydney, distractions sort of take you away from real time. You're living in what they refer to as a rat race.
Wow.
Over here, everything is slow, everything has barakah in it. Because really, you're just living between ulama and between books, between the masjid, between suhbah, other tullab ilm. So it's really a blessing to be here.
Yet by far, one of their greatest secrets in memorization was poetry.
النظم له خصوصيتان. الخصوصية الأولى أنه أسهل حفظا من النثر. المسألة الثانية أن مقتضاه أعلق بالنفوس من مقتضى النثر. فالمسألة إذا كانت في كتاب نثري يمكن أن لا تتذكرها بسرعة، لكن المسألة إذا كانت منظومة في بيت عندما تسأل عنها أو تحتاج إليها تجدها قريبة من نفسه.
It was a sharp tool that allowed them to recall knowledge across multiple disciplines with ease.
Okay, I'm going to try something with you and I want to see how you respond. If I ask you a question, an Islamic question, you're going to recall some lines of poetry to respond to this. For instance, if I was to ask, what is the ruling on prayer while traveling?
سن لمن نوى الذهاب بردا 4 قصر إن الحي عدا وليس لاهيا به أعاصيا فالأول أكره ومنع عنا الثانية وفي انتظار رفقاء برزا ما لم يكن بدونهم قد برزا.
These teachers were incredible, but I was curious how their methods stacked up against modern styles of education. so I sat down with the village's literary master.
I'm going to show the Sheikh the way that I personally learn Arabic at home, and I use artificial intelligence. I use ChatGPT, sometimes even ChatGPT Plus. I'm going to get the Sheikh's thoughts on this process, given that he is a very traditional teacher.
فكما يقول علماء المصطلح
After showing him how ChatGPT worked,
أي أنه يحتاج إلى شيخ متمرس بعد الإتقان.
he was clearly
تأتي الممارسة
amused.
والتطبيق.
But now it was his turn to put it to the test.
دعنا نسمع السؤال.
نعم.
تفضل.
أراني ولا كفران لله أية.
So he asked it a question on Arabic grammar.
ما إعراب قوله أية وما أصلها من حيث التصريف؟
بالنسبة لإعراب أية هي مفعول مطلق منصوب وتأتي هنا لتأكيد المعنى في العبارة، وأما أصلها من حيث التصريف فهي مصدر مشتق من الجذر آيايا الذي يدل على التأكيد والتبيين.
كيف كان جواب الشات جي بي تي؟
هذا ما أجاب. واضح أنه يتحدث بشيء لا يعرفه.
فإذا الجواب غلط.
الجواب غلط تماما، واضح أنه يتكلم في شيء لا يعرفه.
So right now, the Sheikh in Mauritania has made it explicitly clear that ChatGPT 4.0, literally the latest edition, had absolutely no idea what it was talking about, and it's clear as day that the people here are a lot smarter than ChatGPT.
This was a feat for the ages. But on our journey back home, we stumbled upon yet another marvel.
We were literally just walking back to the masjid. It's almost Maghrib time, and this young 15-year-old boy, a Mauritanian boy, just walks past, mashallah, dressed in his traditional dara'a, and the Sheikh asked him, what have you memorized? And he just casually dropped that he has memorized over 6 volumes of classical poetry, which is over 2,000 lines of poetry. اسمك أحمد؟ ممكن تقرأ علينا بعض الأبيات من التي حفظتها؟
بسم الله. قال: كليني لهم يا أميمة ناصبي وليل أقاسيه بطيء الكواكب تطاول حتى قلت ليس بمنقض وليس الذي يرعى النجوم بآئبي وصدر أراح الليل عازب همه تضاعف فيه الحزن من كل جانب.
This young boy went on for another 2 to 3 minutes of uninterrupted poetry recitation. I couldn't stop him.
تقد السلوقية المضاعفة نسجه وتوقد بالصفاح نار الحباحب.
ما شاء الله, ما شاء الله, Allahu Akbar. Literally, a young 15-year-old boy just dropping poetry like that off the top of his head with no preparation, just being put on the spot like that. Tabarakallah, ma sha Allah.
The child was a prodigy by every measure. But as we traveled deeper through Mauritania, we discovered he wasn't alone. From a young age, children across Mauritania begin their memorization journey on traditional wooden boards known as the Lawḥ. I wanted to see the process for myself, so we traveled to another desert village named Taysir to sit with some of the kids who are memorizing the Qur'an with this system. I just needed one of them to show me how it worked. That's when this young boy, Muhammad Salim, stepped in to help.
Surprisingly, he speaks English. Tabarakallah, he shocked me, but he's also learned English as well.
This is the samra.
Samra?
Yes, it's made of the burning wood. Fahm.
Fahm, coal. So it's made from coal?
Yes. You put this like that. This is the pen that we use.
After writing the page on the wooden board, students will recite the lesson hundreds of times to themselves until it's fully memorized.
You're reading every single day for at least like 8 hours.
Yes.
Probably more.
Probably
just
12.
Reciting up to 12 hours. Reciting.
Only once they've mastered it and received permission from their teacher are they allowed to wash off the lesson.
Yes.
And even this is marked with deep respect.
Like a sponge?
The sponge, yeah. Or the sand.
Or you can use the sand as well.
Yes. Whatever it takes, you just wash it like this. It's easy, a lot easy. You just wash it like this. The old dust, it comes right up.
It's a process Ahmed has followed for many years, an all too familiar routine.
This is the Lawḥ that I memorized the Qur'an in. I was in 2013. It was with me.
Wow. So you've had it for over 10 years. You've had this Lawḥ with you.
Yeah.
And you memorized the entire Qur'an just off this procedure that you showed us.
Yes,
it was a beautiful desert tradition that was carried with reverence right to the end.
You've got a hole that's been constructed in the floor over here in the sand. It's been surrounded by rocks so no one steps on it, and you would come here after every lesson you've wiped off with the water and the ink that you've used.
Yes, you just put the ink here.
Sponge over there.
And then put it like there.
And no one's allowed to step anywhere near this.
Yes, everyone knows that this is like a specific area for the...
Wow. These were special children, raised from a young age to honor the Qur'an. They were the true inheritors of the scholars. Before I left, I had the honor of meeting one of the most senior scholars in Mauritania, Sheikh Muhammad Hassan Al-Khadim. At over 90 years of age, I was truly humbled to sit before him. I asked if he had any advice for Muslims living in the West.
فكيف نحفظ الإسلام ونحفظ الدين في الغرب؟
لا مثلا كانوا يتعلموا أحد وينصحوا المسلمين قبل النصحى فبها ولم يتبع إلا قد حصل له الإسر وقام بواجب بما يجب عليه والخلق إنما يهديه الله إنك لا تهدي من أحببت ولكن الله يهدي من يشاء ويبشر الدعاء إن شاء الله المسلمين الهداية إن شاء الله والتوفيق لما يحب ويرضى.
It was a phenomenal journey, one that allowed me to connect with some of the greatest minds in the Muslim world, detached from modernity.
What is your advice to people like me, living in the West, who are surrounded and overwhelmed by distractions, whether that's our smartphones, our televisions? What is your advice to people like us to avoid the distraction?
نعم، هناك يعني أصل لا بد أن نعرفه، هو أن الإيمان يزيد وينقص. الإيمان لا يبقى على درجة واحدة، وإنما هو يزيد وينقص. إذا كان الإنسان عنده مكان يتزود بالإيمان منه، فإنه سيحافظ على إيمانه رغم الملهيات، لأنه عنده مكان يتزود فيه. وحتى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كان يبين هذا لأصحابه عندما يستشكلون. فالمسلم في الغرب أو في غيره لا بد أن يعلم أنه يحتاج إلى هذه الساعة التي ذكرها رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم، ساعة يزيد فيها إيمانه، ساعة يجلس إلى المواعظ، ساعة يسمع الذكر ويسمع الدعوة إلى الله سبحانه وتعالى، وساعة يشتغل بها بأموره التي لا بد له منها من أمور الدنيا.
ما شاء الله. نصيحتي لكم كنصيحتكم لنا، العالم الآن شيء واحد، لا فرق بين الشرق والغرب، صار كله بقعة واحدة. ينبغي للمسلم أينما كانوا أن يحرصوا كل الحرص على أن يمثلوا الدين كما ينبغي، خصوصا إذا كانوا في تلك البلاد. رسالتهم ينبغي أن تتميز بالتمثيل الحقيقي للدين. فإذا كان المرء محافظا على سلوكه الديني فإنه داع بالحال، والدعوة بالحال أقوى من الدعوة بالمقال.
It was timeless advice from the heart of the desert. Lessons that I'll carry with me for a lifetime. May Allah bless the incredible geniuses of the Sahara.